High Counselor Duwan stared through the massive crystal window of his chamber. The 3 moons of Galactic Central hung in the purple sky, casting long shadows across the council building's shimmering surface. He touched the smooth surface of his desk, and multiple screens appeared in the air around him. They did what? Duwan's voice was quiet but filled with disbelief. Intelligence Director Jai Yun stood before him, her formal white robes contrasting with the dark metallic walls. The humans have achieved faster-than-light travel, High Counselor. Our monitoring stations picked up their first successful test yesterday. Duwan leaned back in his chair. This was not supposed to happen for at least another 100 years. Humans were too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Call an emergency meeting, he ordered. All council members must be present. 3 hours later, the Grand Chamber hummed with worried conversation. 200 representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy sat in rising circles around the central platform. Duwan stood in the middle, waiting for silence. "My fellow council members," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "Today we face an unexpected situation. The humans of Earth have achieved FTL capability." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Council member Tai Rim, known for his careful planning, stood up. His scaled skin reflected the chamber's soft light. "High Counselor, this is impossible," Tai Rim said. "Our calculations showed they were centuries away from this achievement." The calculations were wrong. Jai Yun stepped forward, projecting images of Earth's first FTL ship. It was small, crude by council standards, but it worked. They have done in decades what took most of us centuries. An older member from the outer rings shouted, "We all know their history. They fight endless wars among themselves. They cannot be allowed to bring their violence to the stars." Duwan raised his hand for silence. He had spent the last hour reviewing Earth's military history. The humans had more wars in their short history than most council species had in thousands of years. Tai Rim moved to the center platform. "I have a suggestion, High Counselor. We know humans are emotional beings. They react strongly to fear and warnings." "What are you suggesting?" Duwan asked, though he already saw where this was going. "Let us send them a warning. Show them the horror of our great galactic wars. Show them the destroyed planets, the billions lost, the weapons that can crack worlds. Surely this will frighten them into staying in their own system." Jai Yun frowned. "And if it doesn't work?" "It will," Tai Rim said confidently. "No sane species would risk joining galactic society after seeing such destruction. They will choose isolation over potential annihilation." Duwan looked around the chamber. Many members were nodding in agreement. It was a simple solution to a complex problem. Perhaps too simple. "Very well," Duwan announced. "We will send Ambassador Hangil to Earth. He will deliver our warning and show them evidence of our past conflicts. This should convince them to delay their expansion into space." As the council members filed out, satisfied with their decision, Jai Yun stayed behind. She waited until the chamber was empty before speaking. "High Counselor, I have studied Earth's history extensively. Their reactions are not always predictable." Duwan smiled. "You think they might surprise us?" "I think," Jai Yun chose her words carefully, "that we should prepare for unexpected outcomes. Humans have a habit of defying predictions." Duwan looked at the image of Earth still floating above the platform. Such a small blue planet to cause so much worry. "Send the warning," he said finally. "But keep watching them closely. I want to know exactly how they react." As Jai Yun left, Duwan remained in the chamber, watching Earth's image rotate slowly in the air. The Council had existed for 10,000 years. It had handled countless emerging civilizations. Surely they could handle one young species from a small planet in an unremarkable solar system. He had no way of knowing that this simple warning would change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Hangil stood in the elevator of the United Nations building in New York, checking his appearance one last time in the reflective walls. His human form was perfect. the result of months of careful study and genetic modification. Even his suit, chosen to match Earth's formal business wear, was flawless. The elevator doors opened to reveal a long hallway lined with flags from every nation on Earth. 2 security guards led him toward a large conference room. Han Gil touched the data crystal in his pocket, containing images of destruction that would surely terrify these humans into isolation. The conference room doors opened. Han Gil had expected a small group, but the room was packed. Military officers from various nations sat alongside political leaders. In the front row, a woman in a crisp Marine Corps uniform sat next to an older man in a UN suit. Ambassador Han Gil, the UN Secretary-General, stood up. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Thomas Reed, and this is Colonel Matthews of the United States Marine Corps." Han Gil bowed slightly, just as his cultural training had taught him. "Thank you for receiving me. I bring an important message from the Galactic Council." "Please proceed," Reed said, gesturing to the presentation area. Han Gil placed his data crystal on the table. A hologram filled the room, showing massive warships firing at each other across space. "The Council has noticed your achievement of faster-than-light travel. Before you join Galactic Society, you must understand its dangers." He showed them planets turned to glass by energy weapons, entire solar systems destroyed by ancient weapons, billions dead in wars that lasted centuries. Han Gil watched their faces carefully, waiting for the fear to set in. Instead, Colonel Matthews raised her hand. "Ambassador, could you replay the battle sequence from 30 seconds ago? The one with the carrier ships." Han Gil blinked in surprise but did as she asked. "Interesting firing pattern," Matthews said, making notes on her tablet. "Their ships maintain rigid formations even under heavy fire. Very predictable." A Chinese general spoke up next. "Ambassador, these defense platforms around the destroyed planets, what's their effective range?" They can hit targets up to 1 light minute away," Han Gil answered, confused by their interest. "Just 1 light minute?" Matthews shook her head. "That leaves a lot of blind spots." Han Gil quickly switched to images of ground combat. Surely the sight of entire cities being destroyed would affect them. The hologram showed massive alien armies clashing with advanced weapons. A Korean admiral leaned forward. "Their ground forces are using completely exposed supply lines. No backup routes, no protective screens. One good strike and their whole army would be stranded." "Ambassador," Colonel Matthews spoke again, "would it be possible to get tactical data from these conflicts? For historical research, of course." Han Gil stared at her. This wasn't how this meeting was supposed to go. Where was the fear, the horror? These humans were treating his warning like a military lecture. "I don't think you understand," he said. "These wars destroyed entire civilizations. Species that were far more advanced than Earth were wiped out. Because they were predictable," Matthews said simply. "Every battle you've shown us follows the same patterns, same formations, same tactics, same responses. In war, being predictable gets you killed." The UN Secretary-General cleared his throat. "Ambassador, we appreciate the Council's concern. Please tell them we have received their message and will consider it carefully." As Han Gil left the building, he heard Matthews talking to the other officers. "Did you see how their ships always attack in straight lines? No lateral movement at all. We should study this further." Back in his ship, Han Gil sent an urgent message to the Council. "High Counselor, the humans have received our warning, but their reaction is unexpected. They aren't afraid. They're taking notes." He looked back at the UN building, remembering Colonel Matthews' calm analysis of the galaxy's most terrible battles. For the first time in his long diplomatic career, Han Gil felt a new emotion: worry. The Council's simple plan to frighten humanity had just become much more complicated. High Counselor Duwan sat in his private chamber, reading Ambassador Han Gil's report for the 3rd time. Next to him, Intelligence Director Jai Yun watched a hologram of Earth's surface. The planet seemed unusually quiet. "It appears our plan worked," Duwan said, setting down the report. The humans have gone silent. No new FTL tests, no space military exercises. Jai Yun zoomed in on various locations around Earth. Yes, their major military bases show very little activity. Perhaps Tae-Rim was right about using fear as a deterrent. But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, the reality was very different. Lieutenant Sang-ho of the U.S. Marines stood in a massive underground facility, surrounded by hundreds of screens showing alien battle footage. The Council's warning had been copied and sent to every major military command center on Earth. "Play it again," he ordered. "Focus on their ship movements during the 7th Galactic War." The footage showed alien fleets moving in perfect, predictable patterns. Sang-ho had watched these battles so many times he could predict every move. Behind him, Colonel Matthews walked in with a group of international officers. "What have you found, Lieutenant?" she asked. Sang-ho pointed to the largest screen. "Their entire military doctrine is based on ancient traditions, ma'am. They fight the same way they did thousands of years ago. No adaptation, no surprise tactics." A British naval commander stepped forward, like fighting the same war over and over, expecting different results. "Exactly." Sang-ho highlighted several battles. "Look at their ground forces. They always attack in straight lines, always defend in fixed positions. They never use terrain advantages, never use guerrilla tactics, never surprise their enemies." In another part of the facility, engineers were already modifying Earth's ships. They took the best parts of alien technology and combined them with human combat tactics. The result was something entirely new: warships that could move unpredictably, weapons that could fire from impossible angles. Back in the council chambers, Han Gil was giving his final report. "The humans appear properly frightened," he said. "They've decreased their space activity by 80%. Their military bases are unusually quiet." Tae-Rim nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. They understand their place now. A primitive species like them has no business in galactic warfare." But Jai Yun wasn't convinced. Something about this silence bothered her. She had studied Earth's history. Humans never gave up so easily. Meanwhile, in a secret facility under the Pacific Ocean, Lieutenant Sang-ho was running combat simulations. Earth ships, modified with new technology, easily defeated the Council's traditional tactics. The aliens never expected ships to attack from below, to use hit-and-run tactics, to fight dirty. "Their biggest weakness is their predictability," Sang-ho explained to a room full of officers. "They expect everyone to fight like them, with honor, with tradition, with rules. But real war isn't about rules. It's about winning." Colonel Matthews smiled. "And how long before our first ships are ready?" 3 months, Sang-ho replied. "We've combined their tech with our tactics. The results are impressive." In orbit around Mars, hidden from the Council's watchers, the first of Earth's new warships was already being built. It looked nothing like the elegant Council vessels. It was aggressive, practical, built for real combat rather than showing off. Back in his chamber, Du-Wan filed away the reports about Earth. The case was closed. The humans were scared, just as planned. "Should we keep watching them?" Jai Yun asked. "No need," Du-Wan replied. "They've learned their lesson. What could they possibly do now?" In the training room beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lieutenant Sang-ho watched as Marine pilots practiced new combat maneuvers that would have shocked the Council. The aliens thought humans were hiding in fear. They couldn't have been more wrong. Earth wasn't cowering. Earth was preparing. The emergency alarms in the Council chamber had been ringing for 3 hours. High Counselor Du-Wan watched in horror as red dots appeared across the star map. The Dominators, a species known for their violence, had launched a massive attack on the peaceful world of New Eden. "How many ships?" Du-Wan asked, his voice tight with worry. Jai Yun checked the data streams. "At least 300 Dominator warships. They're using a new kind of weapon we've never seen before. Our defense systems can't stop them." "Where is our defense fleet?" Tae-Rim demanded. "Stuck in the outer rim." Jai Yun pulled up another map. They're dealing with a space pirate problem. It would take them 5 days to reach New Eden. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. In 5 days, New Eden would be destroyed. 2 billion people would die. The settlers on New Eden are mostly farmers, Du-Wan said quietly. They have no weapons, no defenses. We promised to protect them. On the main screen, they watched as Dominator ships entered New Eden's orbit. Their ships were ugly, covered in weapons. They didn't follow the usual rules of war. They didn't fight with honor like other Council species. Wait, Jia-Yun said suddenly. What about the humans? Everyone turned to look at her. The humans. Tae-Rim laughed. They're hiding in their system, too scared to even fly their ships. Exactly. Jia-Yun pulled up Han Gil's report. We scared them with images of galactic war. They've seen what these weapons can do. They've had 6 months to think about it. They're primitives, another council member said. Their ships are basic. Their weapons are simple. They would be destroyed. Du-Wan looked at the images of New Eden. He saw the scared messages from the colonists. He thought about the 2 billion innocent people about to die. Contact Earth, he ordered. High Counselor, you can't be serious. Tae-Rim protested. We have no choice, Du-Wan said. We either ask the humans for help, or we watch New Eden burn. In the communication room, Han Gil prepared to send the message. He had studied humans carefully during his time on Earth. He still remembered how calmly they had studied those battle videos. The message was simple. To the leaders of Earth, the planet New Eden is under attack by Dominator forces. 2 billion peaceful settlers face destruction. Our fleet cannot reach them in time. We request any assistance you can provide. They won't come, Tae-Rim said. We showed them the horrors of space war. They'll never risk their ships. For 3 long hours, they waited. The Dominators had started bombing small cities on New Eden. The screams of colonists filled the emergency channels. Then, suddenly, all the communication screens lit up. A message from Earth appeared. This is Colonel Matthews, United States Marine Corps. We have received your distress call. The Marines, along with Allied Earth forces, are responding. Please send tactical data on enemy positions. Help is coming. Before the Council could respond, their sensors detected multiple FTL signatures. But these weren't the simple human ships they had seen before. These were warships, clearly built for combat, unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Impossible, Tae-Rim whispered. They were supposed to be scared. They were supposed to stay home. Du-Wan watched as dozens of Earth ships appeared near New Eden. They looked nothing like elegant Council ships. They were built for war, not show. Leading them was a massive vessel named U.S. Incheon. We need to warn them about the Dominator's new weapons, Jia-Yun said. No, Du-Wan replied, remembering how the humans had studied those battle videos. I think the Dominators are the ones who need to be warned. The Council was about to learn that they had made a huge mistake. They hadn't scared humans away from war. They had given them time to prepare for it. Captain Yu-Jin stood on the bridge of the U.S. Incheon, watching her tactical display. Around her ship, 30 Earth vessels moved into attack positions. 6 months of secret preparation were about to be tested in real combat. Status report, she ordered. All ships in position, her first officer replied. Marine landing craft ready. Lieutenant Sang-Ho's ground forces are prepared for drop. The Dominator ships hung in orbit around New Eden, like ugly black spiders. They had already destroyed 3 small cities. They didn't expect anyone to arrive for days. They were wrong. Open a channel to all Earth ships, Yu-Jin said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. This is what we trained for. Remember, these aliens fight like machines, always the same way, always following their rules. We don't play by their rules. In her combat drop pod, Colonel Matthews checked her weapons one last time. Around her, hundreds of Marines waited for the signal. They had studied every video of alien combat. They knew exactly what to expect. "Ground teams ready," Matthews reported. "Just waiting for your signal, Captain." On the Dominator command ship, an alarm sounded. The alien commander rushed to his bridge, confused by the sensor readings. Ships were appearing out of nowhere. Ships that looked nothing like Council vessels. "Unidentified fleet. This is the Dominator First Strike Force." He sent the message in standard Council format. "Surrender or be destroyed." Captain Yujin smiled when she heard this. The Dominators were already following their usual pattern, making threats, expecting fear, waiting for their enemies to either run away or fight in the traditional way. "This is Captain Yujin of the Earth Defense Force," she replied. "We have a different suggestion." Without warning, the Earth fleet split into small groups. This wasn't how space battles were supposed to work. Ships were meant to stay in neat lines, to follow proper battle formations. Instead, Earth ships moved like wolves hunting in packs. "What are they doing?" the Dominator commander demanded. "This isn't proper combat." "All ships, execute Attack Plan Delta," Yujin ordered. "Marines, you have green light for drop." The U.S. Incheon and its battle group hit the Dominator fleet from 6 different directions at once. Their weapons, built with Council technology but modified by human engineers, tore through the alien shields. At the same time, hundreds of Marine drop pods shot toward New Eden's surface. Lieutenant Sang-ho led the first wave, aiming for the cities under attack. "Remember your training," he told his Marines. "They expect armies to march in straight lines. That's not how we fight." In the Council chamber, Du-Wan and the others watched in shock. Earth ships moved in ways that violated every rule of space combat. They attacked from impossible angles, used asteroids for cover, and seemed to appear and disappear at will. "This is chaos," Taerim shouted. "This isn't how war is fought." "No," Jae-yun replied quietly. "This is how humans fight wars." The Dominator commander tried to reorganize his fleet into traditional battle lines. But every time his ships formed up, the Earth vessels would strike from unexpected directions, breaking their formation. "Captain," Sang-ho's voice came over the radio. "Marines have landed, moving to engage ground forces." "Understood," Yujin replied. She turned to her crew. "Push them back. Show them why you don't threaten civilians when Marines are around." The Council had thought their warning would scare humans away from space. Instead, it had given Earth's military forces 6 months to study, plan, and prepare. Now the Dominators were learning what happened when you fought an enemy who didn't care about proper battle etiquette. They were about to learn why humans had survived countless wars on Earth. They were about to learn what real combat looked like. Lieutenant Sang-ho crouched behind a fallen pillar in New Eden's capital city. Above him, Earth ships chased Dominator vessels through the clouds. On the ground, his Marines were showing aliens what real urban combat looked like. "Team 2, report," he said into his radio. "Sir, we've pushed them back 6 blocks, a sergeant replied. "They keep trying to form straight battle lines. Makes them easy to flank." Sang-ho smiled. The Dominators fought like they were still in ancient times, standing in neat rows like soldiers from old Earth wars. But cities weren't battlefields. Cities were mazes, and Marines knew how to use every corner, every shadow. In space, Captain Yujin watched as another Dominator ship exploded. The alien commander kept trying to follow his combat manual, kept trying to fight the proper way. But there was no proper way to fight humans. "Ma'am," her sensor officer called out. "They're forming up for another charge." "Just like the training videos," Yujin said. "They never learn. Break our ships into pairs. Let them chase us." The Dominator commander watched in frustration as the Earth ships scattered. This wasn't how space battles were supposed to work. Ships were supposed to fight in proper formations, not run around like wild animals. "Chase them down," he ordered. "Show them how real warriors fight." But that's exactly what Captain Yujin wanted. As the Dominator ships charged forward, Earth vessels appeared behind them, firing from their blind spots. It was like fighting ghosts. Every time the aliens established a battle line, humans would strike from 3 different directions. On the ground, Colonel Matthews led her Marines through the city's sewers. Above them, Dominator soldiers marched down the main streets, looking for enemies to fight face to face. In position, Matthews radioed to Sang-Ho. "They have no idea we're under their feet." Sang-Ho checked his tactical display. The Dominators had gathered their ground forces for a big push, just like aliens always did in the Council videos. They never expected an attack from below. "All units," Sang-Ho ordered. "Execute surprise plan, Charlie." Suddenly, the street exploded upward. Marines burst from sewers and tunnels, attacking the Dominator forces from every direction. The aliens tried to turn and fight, but their heavy armor was designed for frontal combat, not close-quarter street fighting. "This is impossible," the Dominator ground commander shouted. "They're not fighting fairly." "We're not fighting fair," Matthews replied to her Marines. "We're fighting to win." In the council chamber, Du-Wan and the others watched the battle in amazement. Earth ships moved like nothing they had ever seen. Human soldiers appeared and disappeared like shadows. Everything they knew about warfare was being proved wrong. "Look at their tactics," Jai-Yun said, studying the battle data. "No fixed patterns, no predictable moves. The Dominators can't adapt fast enough." In orbit, Captain Yu-Jin's strategy was working perfectly. The Dominator fleet was scattered, trying to chase Earth ships that refused to stand and fight properly. One by one, the alien vessels were being picked off. "This is humiliating," the Dominator commander raged. "They're supposed to be primitives. But primitives don't study their enemies for 6 months. Primitives don't combine advanced technology with guerrilla warfare tactics. Primitives don't turn their enemies' pride against them." On the ground, Sang-Ho and his Marines had the Dominator forces surrounded. The aliens were trapped in the city center, still trying to fight in formation while humans attacked from every window, every alley, every underground tunnel. "Status report," Captain Yu-Jin called. "Ground forces have them boxed in," Sang-Ho replied. "They're still trying to fight like it's an open field." The Council had warned Earth about the horrors of galactic war, but they never considered that humans might be better at it than anyone else in the galaxy. The battle for New Eden was about to become a lesson no alien would ever forget. High Counselor Du-Wan stood in the ruins of what had been a Dominator ground base on New Eden. Around him, U.S. Marines were helping local settlers rebuild their homes. The battle had ended 6 hours ago, and he still couldn't believe what he had seen. "Impossible," Tae-Rim whispered beside him. "They defeated the Dominators in less than 1 day." Colonel Matthews walked up to them, her armor still dusty from combat. "Is there something wrong, Council members?" "Wrong." Du-Wan looked at the captured Dominator ships being studied by human engineers. "You just did something that would have taken our fleet 5 days, and you did it in 18 hours. Lieutenant Sang-Ho joined them, carrying a tablet with battle reports. "We had good teachers," he said, smiling. "Your warning videos showed us exactly how aliens fight." Du-Wan felt his stomach sink. The videos, the warning that was supposed to scare humans away from space. Instead, they had used it like a training manual. "But the horror of war," Tae-Rim started to say. "With respect," Matthews cut in, "humanity has seen plenty of horror. We fought wars for thousands of years. What we hadn't seen was how aliens fight. You showed us that." In orbit, Captain Yu-Jin was giving Intelligence Director Jai-Yun a tour of the U.S. engine. The Council member couldn't stop staring at the ship's combat systems. "You combined our technology with your own tactics," Jai-Yun said, studying a weapons display. "No one has ever done that before." Yu-Jin nodded. "Everyone in the galaxy fights the same way. Same formations, same strategies, same responses. It makes them predictable." Jai-Yun finished. She was finally understanding the huge mistake the council had made. Back on the ground, Du-Wan watched as human soldiers worked alongside New Eden settlers. The Marines weren't acting like conquerors. They were helping rebuild homes, setting up medical stations, and playing with local children. "I don't understand," Tay-Rim said. "You're so good at war, but you're also good at peace," Sang-Ho suggested. "That's because we know war isn't about glory or proper battle lines. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves." Matthews showed them footage from the battle. "Your species fight wars like they're following a script. Same tactics for thousands of years. Humans, we adapt, we change, we learn. And now you know all our weaknesses," Du-Wan said quietly. "No," Matthews replied firmly. "Now we know how to help defend the galaxy. That's why we're here." In the captured Dominator Command Center, human engineers were already studying alien technology. But they weren't just copying it. They were improving it, combining it with Earth designs in ways no one had thought possible. "Your warning actually helped us," Sang-Ho explained to the shocked council members. 6 months of studying alien combat footage. That was better than any training program. Jai-Yun, who had come down from the Incheon, was looking through Earth's military history on a tablet. "Their wars," she said to Du-Wan. "They've had more conflicts in their short history than most council species have had in thousands of years. And we learned from every one of them," Matthews added. "Every war taught us something new. Every battle made us adapt." Du-Wan looked at the human ships in orbit, the Marines helping civilians, the engineers studying alien tech. The Council's plan hadn't just failed, it had backfired in the most spectacular way possible. "We thought we were warning you about war," he said finally, "but we were actually giving us a head start." Yu-Jin finished, joining the group. "And now we're here to stay." The Council had tried to scare humanity away from the stars. Instead, they had helped create something new. A species that combined advanced technology with thousands of years of combat experience. The galaxy would never be the same. High Counselor Du-Wan stood in the ruins of what had been a Dominator ground base on New Eden. Around him, U.S. Marines were helping local settlers rebuild their homes. The battle had ended 6 hours ago, and he still couldn't believe what he had seen. "Impossible," Tay-Rim whispered beside him. "They defeated the Dominators in less than 1 day." Colonel Matthews walked up to them, her armor still dusty from combat. "Is there something wrong, Council members?" "Wrong." Du-Wan looked at the captured Dominator ships being studied by human engineers. "You just did something that would have taken our fleet 5 days, and you did it in 18 hours. Lieutenant Sang-Ho joined them, carrying a tablet with battle reports. "We had good teachers," he said, smiling. "Your warning videos showed us exactly how aliens fight." Du-Wan felt his stomach sink. The videos. The warning that was supposed to scare humans away from space. Instead, they had used it like a training manual. "But the horror of war," Tay-Rim started to say. "With respect," Matthews cut in. "Humanity has seen plenty of horror. We've fought wars for thousands of years. What we hadn't seen was how aliens fight. You showed us that." In orbit, Captain Yu-Jin was giving Intelligence Director Jai-Yun a tour of the U.S. Incheon. The council member couldn't stop staring at the ship's combat systems. "You combined our technology with your own tactics," Jai-Yun said, studying a weapons display. "No one has ever done that before." Yu-Jin nodded. "Everyone in the galaxy fights the same way. Same formations, same strategies, same responses. It makes them predictable." Jai-Yun finished. She was finally understanding the huge mistake the council had made. Back on the ground, Du-Wan watched as human soldiers worked alongside New Eden settlers. The Marines weren't acting like conquerors. They were helping rebuild homes, setting up medical stations, and playing with local children. "I don't understand," Tay-Rim said. "You're so good at war, but you're also good at peace," Sang-Ho suggested. That's because we know war isn't about glory or proper battle lines. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves. Matthews showed them footage from the battle. Your species fight wars like they're following a script. Same tactics for thousands of years. Humans, we adapt. We change. We learn. And now you know all our weaknesses, Duwan said quietly. No, Matthews replied firmly. Now we know how to help defend the galaxy. That's why we're here. In the captured Dominator Command Center, human engineers were already studying alien technology. But they weren't just copying it. They were improving it, combining it with Earth designs in ways no one had thought possible. Your warning actually helped us, Sang-Ho explained to the shocked council members. 6 months of studying alien combat footage. That was better than any training program. Jai-Yun, who had come down from the Incheon, was looking through Earth's military history on a tablet. Their wars, she said to Duwan. They've had more conflicts in their short history than most council species have had in thousands of years. And we learned from every one of them, Matthews added. Every war taught us something new. Every battle made us adapt. Duwan looked at the human ships in orbit, the Marines helping civilians, the engineers studying alien tech. The Council's plan hadn't just failed, it had backfired in the most spectacular way possible. We thought we were warning you about war, he said finally, but we were actually giving us a head start. Jin finished, joining the group. And now we're here to stay. The Council had tried to scare humanity away from the stars. Instead, they had helped create something new, a species that combined advanced technology with thousands of years of combat experience. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Battle of New Eden, High Counselor Duwan stood before the full Galactic Council. The chamber looked very different now. Human representatives sat among the alien leaders. Marine guards in dress uniforms stood at attention near the doors. My fellow council members, Duwan began. 1 year ago, we made what we thought was our greatest mistake. We showed humans the horror of galactic warfare, expecting to scare them away from space. The chamber was quiet. Everyone remembered their plan, and how spectacularly it had failed. Instead, Duwan continued, we gave them exactly what they needed, a complete guide to how every species in the galaxy fights. They studied our weaknesses, improved our strengths, and changed everything we knew about combat. Captain Jin, now an admiral, stood up from her seat. She wore a new uniform that combined Council symbols with Earth military ranks. The combined Earth Council Defense Fleet now protects 37 peaceful worlds, she reported. No major attacks have succeeded since we began joint operations. The Dominators haven't dared to raid another colony. Lieutenant Sang-Ho, promoted to captain after New Eden, activated a hologram showing the new defense network. Human ships and Marines worked alongside alien forces, teaching them new ways to fight, new ways to think. Our first class of joint-trained officers graduates next week, Sang-Ho said. They've learned to combine the best of human tactics with advanced alien technology. They're ready to defend any world in Council space. Colonel Matthews, now General Matthews, stepped forward. The U.S. Marines and other Earth military forces have established 5 major bases in Council space. We can respond to any threat within hours, not days. In the year since New Eden, everything had changed. The old Council chamber, with its ancient traditions and rigid thinking, had become a center of innovation. Humans brought new ideas not just about fighting, but about everything. Look at what we've accomplished together, Jai-Yun said, standing beside Duwan. Humans taught us to think differently, to adapt, to change. Tae-Rim, once worried about human violence, now led the Council's new defense committee. A year ago, I thought humans would bring chaos to the galaxy. I was right, but it was exactly the chaos we needed. The hologram showed Earth ships practicing new maneuvers with alien vessels. In space stations across the galaxy, human engineers worked with alien scientists, creating new technologies that combined the best of both worlds. The galaxy is safer now than it has been in 1,000 years, Duwan said. Not because we have bigger weapons or stronger ships, but because we finally learned to think differently about war and peace. Ambassador Hangill, who had first brought the Council's warning to Earth, smiled from his seat. We thought we were teaching humans about the galaxy. Instead, they taught us about ourselves. On the screen, Marines trained alien soldiers in urban combat techniques. Council ships practiced Earth-style battle formations. Students from 100 worlds attended the new Joint Military Academy. The old saying was that war never changes, General Matthews said. We proved that wrong. War does change. Everything changes. You just have to be willing to learn. Duwan looked at the changed council chamber, at the mix of humans and aliens working together. Their failed attempt to scare humanity had led to something no one expected: a stronger, safer galaxy. 1 year ago, we thought humans needed to learn about galactic warfare, he concluded. We were wrong. We were the ones who needed to learn. And thanks to our human friends, we finally did. The chamber erupted in applause. Above them, Earth ships patrolled alongside Council vessels. On dozens of worlds, Marines and alien forces trained together. The galaxy had changed forever, and it all started because the Council tried to scare the wrong species.